Alright, it's January 20th, 2022. I don't know how to construct a conversation. I'm struggling at the moment. I know it seems like it comes so easy, but I'm struggling how to build a actual event that happened and how to reconstruct it in proper format for one purpose. If I was to have a conversation, if anything was to happen to me, and I was to have a conversation with my son Alexander James before, or have some form of trailing message, since I don't really get to reach him in importance and in magnitude for whatever reason. Lewis and Linda are having a conversation. Now, if I flash back to the 19th century, from where I arrived on star 8378 star 1978 in the 19th century, just myself, Linda, and Lewis, there was a box. They said it was some kind of radio tube, but they said it, actually they only said it was a television, a TV. It was pictures that moved by some magical process. But it worked almost like a radio in the car, in the automobile, if they were taking me somewhere. In the radio in the car, there's like a dashboard something, and then it had set numbers, almost like a speedometer, and then it had a needle that went back and forth, and you had to like tune in to the station back in the 19th century. Very antiquated, I would call it, antique-ish, not Antigua, but antique. And so it was a very mild-mannered, there was no secret operation and hidden technology, so the evil children from everywhere that learned way too much while everybody else was sleeping could take over and damage their lives. That was the 19th century. It was much more mild in New York. It was like, here's the box that the newscasters come through on, or PBS specials, or Anne of Green Gables, Sound of Music, Casablanca, and then a couple of Italian programs every now and again, which I didn't understand. So, but the TV worked off the same antiquated or antique-ish, like needle system that the radio in the car did. You had, like, on our TV, one of the relatives had a spin dial that you had to go like click, 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 click into the what I call rabbit ear channels, just the first 13, and not every number was represented. And then it became a push button on the front, but it still was already tuned into a specific something, and you just had to get off the couch, go to the TV, there's your only exercise, and you pushed the buttons. Then at some point, my Aunt Marie got really fancy. She got a cable box, and they moved the buttons off the front of the television onto a box with a wire. So if your couch was close enough to the television receiving station that had the moving pictures, if that wire was right and your couch was close enough, you didn't have to actually physically get up to sit there and just try to find something on, because they didn't even have television all day long. There sometimes was television, sometimes there was lines, sometimes they were colored, sometimes it was like a crackling black and white, like, but there was not always something available to watch. So and then they had this paper catalog where you could look up and see what was going to be on when the time was. It was like a directory. So you didn't just have to sit there all day long like a clueless whatever, pushing buttons, waiting for someone to speak to you through the television with some form of entertainment like importance. That was just the 19th century, 7 decade, 8 years until whatever. Now, in the 20th century, here's the conversation I wake up to. The television now looks like this. It's flat. There's some larger remote. There's like this remote thing for it. There's no buttons anywhere on the front face. If you lose the remote, I have no idea how you would even turn on the machine, or you would turn it on. It turns out it has some kind of chip technology in it. I thought it was just a conduit, like a monitor that turns on, but apparently, according to Lewis, it has its own software. It uploads, it downloads. I'm like, that sounds like a computer, Lou. When did the television on radio tube for teleportation change into computerized technology, but the general public they didn't disclose that? Is that about the same time they went digital? Because now we have no more directory or TV guide. We have no more, there's like no more control over the in-house television, it feels. And then, so it's really confusing, the process and who's monitoring, regulating it. But that ties also into the telephones with there's no longer a yellow pages that everybody has in the house. Lynn doesn't even have one. And that has like names and whatever. Helpful information I thought it had in there at some point, but whatever. And then, so now here's the conversation. Lou has a brand new TV. He gave Lynn his old TV. They refer to the television as a smart TV. Now, apparently, Linda's TV it's an older model. It's not as smart as Lewis's TV. Linda wants this new Kevin Costner. No, not Kevin Costner. She gets that one. There's some new show, 1883, with some couple that's Nashville country stars that she saw in People magazine, that she just wants to see it and wants to be part of it because it looks like something she would love, called 1883. Numbers for me, I like it, but whatever. So she realizes her TV does not have this Paramount app, because now the TV has apps. And I'm like, what? The TV has become so complicated. It is a hidden computerized something or other, disguised as something that was less scary back in the day. And so now Lewis's TV. So now Lewis called LG, like Linda Gunder, and then it's TV. But when they said it in their conversation, I was sitting couch potato, and he was like, "Yeah, well, I called LG TV support," and I'm like, "LG TV support." I was like, if I didn't know better, it kind of sounds like LGBT. And so then I made a joke out of it. Lou started laughing. He goes, "No, it's the television." I'm like, "Right, got it. LG TV support. Okay." So he called to say that they checked it out, and apparently the TV needs some kind of update because it's unable to get some apps. I mean, like, again, super complicated for something that should just work. And so now, over the last 3 days, somehow his smarter TV got updated. But Lynn's TV, that's not as smart as Lewis's, still is incapable because nobody has addressed her issue. So now she's upset. She wants him to call back. I mean, do you see how you could waste oodles of time in this nonsensical world just because she wants an app? Now, if these are the everyday trauma room, security breach concerns, how does one fit their health, safety, welfare, their nutritional needs, their ability to socialize, their ability to, I mean, like, is this only for, like, witness protection? Like, are those only our concerns that we're not allowed to go out with the rest of you all? Like, because there's a bigger thing going on and everybody has taken payoffs and gone off and enjoyed their lives? I'm just curious because it's kind of like what it feels like being left here with these really silly arguments that I have to witness for I don't know what reason, because everybody else seems to have taken some kind of payoff or plea deal or whatever, and criminal children from everywhere. So today is the smart TV conversation between the not as smart TV and the person who has the smarter TV in the same house. And the fact that the already smarter TV, who didn't have an issue, got a software update, but the less smart TV in the house didn't get any whatsoever. So I know universally it's always connected to something you humans are up to in some sort of, but not really kind of a way. So that happened. But again, it goes back to, like, were we safer with the I have to exercise myself and get off the couch to touch the television if I want a channel change, and I don't have TV access 24 hours, 7 days a week, only when it's like something really important via telecast does it get broadcasted? Or, am I less safe now that there's a whole computer system built into my home that I'm not even aware of, or I don't even recognize unless I'm looking for alternate ways to communicate on a non-human level between an alien and a monster as a guardian angel or an angel of sorts? Depends on who you ask. Just curious. Because I'm pretty sure they disguised some advanced technology that may actually have put me in danger and repackaged it with some mild words and some really great salespeople somewhere in the world, and they infiltrated my safety zone of my home residence, and it's going unacknowledged. I mean, the radiological smelling of the static on the TV as it was pulling in message, that at least I could say doesn't smell right, doesn't look right, but I'm not watching it all the time, and it does have a communicative purpose. Now the teleportation's gotten really clean, slim, trim-lined, and now I'm concerned about who's actually sending the message. From where's there, because again, I saw in this life frame something called a White House with a very specific family or few family members calling themselves something respectful as a U.S. president. We had this conversation this morning too. I'm like, it used to be when we turned on that special telecast, the president was the most important person in our lives because he's who keeps us safe while we're going about our daily wondering, and he's our gladiator or our fighter somewhere in the world for our safety, protection, and whatever. Now all of a sudden, I'm watching this, whatever. I wouldn't know how to turn it on if I didn't have someone teach me. I still can't use the remote like it's like, how many menus? I mean, it takes forever. So now, just curious, like, when did that happen? Who agreed to that? And now why does it seem like, I mean, I'm still trying to, I don't know what Joe Biden says behind my back because I don't have access. I heard he talked for 2 hours yesterday, but I don't know. They don't tell anybody in New York or in the package of whatever this is how to tune in to what he's saying. Like, do you need a radio? Is it a special channel on the television? Does everybody have access to it? Is he in some secret communication with only a certain section of the population now that he is a vice president that does not look like she's part of the original family? Just curious. It seems like there's a couple of layers of conversations going on, but I don't know how to tune into what he's saying. But then again, is somebody trying not? I mean, like, my mind could go a whole bunch of different ways on when I used to have squares here and I'm just in a hole. For what am I allowed to listen to? Is it blasphemous? Is it treasonous? Those words scare the heck out of me. I really don't have clear definition on those words either. Not from somebody of a authoritative echelon that I can double check my own whatever with. At this point, I'm just in observance, trying to be respectful, but some of the... I saw it the other day on the television. It says there was like a lemonade stand almost, and then they had a caricature of President Joe Biden, U.S. President Joe Biden, almost like he went up to the lemonade stand and then he's sitting there, and then on top of it it said complaint booth, U.S. complaint booth, like as if he was listening. On one side I said to Lou and Lynn, I said, that would be nice if there was concerns and he was able to listen and manage with our concerns. But on the other hand, I saw this morning on the teleportation device, Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris was up there, and she was saying, I taped it so I can do an overlay parlay, but she was saying something about she gets the same briefings as the president. So now we already had a during the time of Mike Pence holding up the vice presidency of, I'm confused as to which one does what. There was a Obama in the presidency chair. That was scary as to how the world changed over, considering he's not part of the family and he's not on the currency. There's allowances at Treasury level, but that I don't believe was one of them. Don't know how that got to be an accepted allowance of some sort by whom I don't know, but it sends shock waves through my spine. And now it seems like we had a calming Donald Trump trying to recoup whatever 8 years footing we lost in why is there a non-family member in the White House. And now all of a sudden we have a Joe Biden and a follow-up, almost. I don't know who and how that gets on a ticket. Is that a citation? Is that a ticket? How did that happen? Because again, they don't teach these things of how they put these parties, or these search and rescue parties, or these, I mean, again, we have one thing where we just know you salute a president and you're respectful of a president. The president's supposed to be the best teacher ever, I would think, considering that we didn't have the same level of education as he did. But I don't know how to be a receiver of his message if it doesn't get into the rabbit ear stations of television. Even with all of these podcasts and things, I sometimes hear journalists, if I tune into that section, which I normally don't, but if I do, I hear them recap what they were allowed to witness, and then it's going, now that's an interesting spin on it or take on it. Yeah, so I'm not quite sure if we are safer or less safe with the, I mean, it's more convenient for some, but I think somewhere the message has really gotten sloppy and dangerous in a day-to-day, like, whatever they call this lighting measure that then damages the skin and the gravity. I mean, I drew a picture last night based on a physics person that I had witnessed. He speaks of a V with almost planet-looking thing, like the planet interacts differently when it's inside this cylindrical gravitational force, and then if it is on the opposite, it doesn't interact the same way with the humanness. It's some form of human. At this point, the only thing I could say is I'm in some form of human condition that is extremely painful and is causing my body machina to interact biochemically different. I had made the adipose tissue comment where there's some foreign tissue that I was injected with some kind of initial programming seed, and it's grown into something called a cellulite, Cellulite. There's a bunch of different women that have experienced this growth of this tissue, but it sits subcutaneous, but it sits superior to the myomeres, which is the muscle, the striated muscle. So it, in essence, puts a foreign system and loses contact with the skin you were born in and the muscle machine that needs to interact in a specific contacted way. And you lose contact, and at times you lose body function or performance of body function, which is a really more serious medical biomedical effect that really scares me, which I'm suffering under at the moment in New York, in the United States of America, in North America. But I know it has a larger whatever. I mentioned yesterday the word for the first time, cosmological constant. I also did give birth for certain to the Immaculate, or to an Immaculate, which is Alexander James, which is why I'm making this one video. Not that I think he'll watch it, but it will at least have been received by one in his benefit, should anything, whatever, in whatever. It is Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. Again, this is what's coming through on the upgraded teleportation system, where I don't know if that's the change between telecast and teleportation. It's a little confusing. I don't know the linguistical prowess that's acceptable at other lengths or other area. But it is an interesting, if I think of Showcase, the somebody helped pay for the campaign which got our MVP or our VIP inside the White House, not knowing who backs that, and then seeing on the television at the same time in some telecast a interior fight between a Kevin Costner and like a parallel paradigm of Kevin Costner and some other guy, and then seeing the representatives in the White House at the same time. Is that the fight that goes on in the background? Again, because you only see the best foot forward on the television, usually. I think in television producer land, they're able to do a little more in-depth character placement of some of the psychological profiles of the human condition. But for the most part, there's some image consultant that keeps the narrative of the professionals that have gotten to that height in some semblance of, at this point it's like mediocrity, because I don't even, I feel like we've slipped from the respectful level of where we were. I don't know why. I don't know how. But it's almost like as humans became people watchers, there's been a whole paradigm shift there as well within their body machine and stuff. I mean, I could go into explicit detail, but I won't. Because it's not from a judgment or a whatever, it's just from an observance of what I've seen and tethered together. So it is star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's January 20th, 2022.